My name is Melanie. I'm the communications manager at Bandzoogle. We power websites and EPKs for artists, and I'll be talking to you about EPKs today. I just wanted to thank Folk Music Ontario for having me here. I've attended the FMO conferences in the past. It's a lovely organization, so welcoming and well run. Like everyone, I'm sure I'm feeling anxious for some live music again. And with the industry starting to open up a little bit, booking shows are on the minds of many musicians. So today we'll take a look at creating an electronic press kit with the goal to showcase your music and your online presence. So this is a really helpful tool to have. It's a way to combine all of your musical strengths in one place. Makes it easy for promoters, venues, and your fans to access all of that. So let's jump right in. We'll talk a little bit about the different kinds of EPKs, the materials we want to add to each one. I am going to address some questions we get asked regularly from musicians about EPKs. I think we can take some questions as well, probably at the end. I'm not sure if I'll be able to see the chat or not, but if I do, and you have a question, I'll try to get to it. So thanks again for having me. With that, I'm going to present. Here we go. Here we go. Hopefully you can see that. We're just going to talk today about how to create an effective EPK for your music. So first of all, Bandzoogle. We are an all-in-one website platform for musicians. You can easily build a mobile-friendly website and an EPK for your music with no coding needed. You can sell music, merch, tickets, all commission-free. We recently added a bundling option to our store. And you can also set up crowdfunding or fan subscriptions directly on your website. You can build your mailing list from your website, including sending professional email newsletters out to your fan base. We also provide live support. Most of our support team is musicians as well. And we offer that 7 days a week. So musicians on Bandzoogle have sold over 78 million in commission-free sales since we launched our e-commerce tools. We don't take a cut of any of the sales made through Bandzoogle websites. And if you do need a website, feel free to use this promo code FMO. That'll get you a 3-month promotional trial and 15% off your first paid year if you decide to sign up. So now we'll talk about how to create that effective EPK for your music. First of all, let's talk about, back to basics, what is an EPK? So it's an electronic press kit, a digital press kit. This is the professional resume for your career. It's a digital version of what bands used to send out to the press, to venues, at a festival to get booked. This is where industry professionals can hear your music and find all of the information and highlights they need to know about your career, all in one place. EPKs are used for a few different things. So if you decide to build one, or if you have one and you want to revamp it, first of all, decide on the goal for your EPK. With that goal in mind, you can use that to populate your EPK with relevant content to highlight your music. A general EPK is great for every musician to have. That's the online resume. An EPK for venues. You can also create a one sheet for media or an EPK for media. So a general EPK, this is the one that acts like your online resume. You want to update it constantly as your career evolves, as things change. It should contain everything that is needed to know to promote your music. This will be accessed by fans, by venues, by radio, by podcasts. If you don't have anything on the radar, you should still have an EPK that just acts as a snapshot of what you've done so far with your music. Within a general EPK, a quote is always a great thing to include. It lends a bit of authenticity, somebody talking about your music or your draw. You'll include a short bio, keeping in mind that somebody visiting your EPK may not know anything about you. So include a little bio that tells them who you are quickly. You want your best music, your photos, video, social media links, as well as handy contact information. An EPK for venues. This kind of EPK you would create specifically if you're trying to book shows. It'll help promote what the live experience is like for your music. And in addition to that, it will provide the information that a venue might need to help promote your show. Venues, festivals, showcases, private events. If you're applying to any of these, an EPK for venues will help with that. So the assets to include, if you're creating an EPK specifically for venues, you'll also want your short bio. You want to include photos. Live photos are great. Music as well. A live track might be helpful here if you have a good one. Live video, press and reviews specifically about your live show, a tech rider or a stage plot, some upcoming shows that you have, or if you haven't played in a while, perhaps you could highlight some past shows where you opened for somebody notable or you sold out, something like that. You'll also want to include your social media links and your contact information. A one sheet for radio is an EPK that is used to promote an upcoming single. So you'll specifically use this EPK if you're pitching to radio stations. It could be community radio, college radio, and that kind of thing. And a one sheet for radio is also helpful for podcasts, music blogs, and pitching to playlists. With this kind of EPK, you'll want to include a description of your music or the single, keeping in mind that somebody might want to listen to your music, copy and paste that description, and you'll include the single as well. Some photos of yourself or your band, press or reviews that pertain to that music, the new single, a video if applicable, plus your social media and streaming links, as well as your contact information. The last type of an EPK that you might want to use is an EPK for the media. This you would use specifically if you're trying to get press for an album. You'll use it to pitch your album, blogs, or other media with the intention of getting reviews or press, interviews, and that kind of thing. You want to include a bio here as well, an album description, so that it's really easy for somebody to know what your new album is all about, what it sounds like. You'll include any related press if you've gotten it so far, plus an album feature, which would include your album and the artwork, photos, video, your social media links, and your contact information. So now that you guys have an idea about the 4 different types of EPKs, to narrow things down a little bit, we'll talk about the different assets and how to prepare them. So a bio. An EPK bio is really important. You can include a few different versions because different media, bookers, festivals, they might have different needs or word limits. Somebody might want a 100-word bio for a program. Somebody might want a 250-word bio for a website. So you can include a few different versions or include one, keeping in mind that somebody might just copy and paste the first paragraph. Because somebody likely will copy and paste your bio, you want to make sure you write it in the third person. It's less work for them to have to adapt it. And a bio written in the third person is also better for search engines. So if you do want to include your different versions, the longest it should be is 4 paragraphs. You don't want to take up way too much space on the page because you have so much else to add to your EPK. Here's a quick example of a bio with a great little image, conveys her vibe, and she's got her text that stands out really clearly on the page, talks about her music. Photos are really important to add to an EPK. It gives your visitor, your industry person who's checking out your website, a sense of who you are, what you look like, what your show looks like. So you want to include your official promotional photos. Offer options because they might use them for different things, social media, for print, for a website, spotlight. Include vertical and horizontal options, black and white versions. You might even include a square version for Instagram. And definitely include a high resolution option for print. That can always be scaled down for web. And if you are looking to get press for an album, you can include your album cover image, and that'll help with reviews. Here's a quick example of some press photos. These are all vertical, but they can be cropped nicely to square or even some of them horizontally if needed, because the focus is on her and there's some space around the edges. So that's sort of a good tip as well if you're preparing some press photos, make sure there's lots of space. The next thing you want to include in your EPK, of course, is your music. You'll want to have your latest music available so that it's easy to listen to. If you're trying to get press for this music, you should include a few tracks to download. And you also want to make sure you put clear information for who the media can contact if they want to get a full album download. On this section as well, you can link to your music on your streaming services if you like, Spotify, Apple Music, and that kind of thing. And here's an example of an EPK where they highlight their new album. They have information about the album. They show the artwork very clearly. They have a track to listen to, the lead track, and they also include some interviews that they've gotten so far. So next you want to include a video. Depending on which EPK type you're going for will inform the type of video that you add. So if you're creating a general EPK, just pick your best video or two. You don't want to have too many videos. You don't want somebody scrolling your EPK endlessly. You can always rotate these out, but keep in mind that this is the video someone will see. They might not necessarily go to your YouTube channel. They'll go to your EPK and they'll see the video that you've placed there. So in a sense, you're curating the experience here for blogs and for media. You're telling them which video that they can choose if they're embedding a video to help promote you. And many blogs, media sites, venues, they do like to embed a video or share a video on social media once you're booked and they're promoting your show. This just makes them really easy to find. And if you are creating an EPK to book shows, a live video is always a good bet here to give a sense of what you're like live. So next, you'll want to include press articles, reviews, and quotes. You'll want to add some links to your best reviews or interviews. You can also pull out the best quote. This looks really nice on the page with some text and then a link to the full review. You can also add a logo of the media source, maybe a podcast or a media outlet beside the review or somewhere in there, just so it's not a wall of text. And within this section or anywhere in your press kit, you can highlight great quotes that you've gotten from these press articles and reviews. Again, just to lend a bit of authority to your music. This is what people are talking about. Here's a nice example from Rachel Beck. She's pulled out different quotes from reviews that she's received and created sort of a neat, colorful wall of press, including her imagery. And it just really visually engages you and makes you want to learn more about her and listen to her music. Now, if you're creating an EPK for venues, a stage plot is handy. You likely know a stage plot is a visual representation of where each band member will be on the stage, plus the gear that they'll use. You want to make sure you put down where your mics, your amps, everything will be positioned on stage, and include a list of gear needed for your live show. You'll also want to iron out which gear is provided by the band and what's needed by their promoter. So if you include a stage plot, that sort of thing is listed on there. If the keys are there, if the mics are there, that kind of thing. Moonfruits has a few tech riders for different configurations when they play live. It's visually very pleasing and super clear if somebody wants to book them, what's needed. So another thing to include in your EPK are your notable achievements. This should include your career highlights. So if you've been nominated for an award, if you won an award, if you've charted on radio or had success on Spotify, being added to a certain playlist or, you know, 1 million streams on YouTube, if you've performed at festivals or opened for a noteworthy band, all of those things can be included here and updated regularly. Whenever something new happens, you should update it here. The idea is that this information will give positive context to your music. Somebody will come to your EPK, they'll learn about you, and career highlights sort of gives a positive, bigger picture of what you've done with your music so far. Now, often an EPK is on a website with a contact option in the menu, but I do suggest also including the contact information right in your EPK. So if somebody goes directly to that page, they'll see it. They watch your video, they listen to your music, they want to find out more. It's there, it's clear, and make sure it's as clear as can be. If you have a different contact for the booking agent for your band, if one of your bandmates is in charge of media, make sure you list that out separately so that they know who to get in touch with. And your social media links. Nowadays, including your social media links is a good idea. They'll likely look you up anyway to check out your social media presence. If you promote your music, the kinds of things you talk about on social media. For that reason, you should list the networks, the platforms that you are most active on. If you have a Twitter account, but you don't tweet, you can probably leave that one out. If you're more active on Instagram, put that one on your EPK instead. And it can just be plain and simple, a quick contact form, plus your social media links at the bottom. And then they can just tap on whichever one they'd like to explore further. So the Bandzoogle blog, we did put out this resource recently, the 8 things that should be in every band's press kit. You can rewatch this video, of course, if you want, but if you just want to read a bit more about how to create that bio, tips for photos, you can check out this article and it'll walk you through it. I think there's some examples in there as well that should be helpful. And I can't actually see the chat. So if there's questions, Joel, feel free to interrupt me. Otherwise, I'm just going to go ahead with some design tips for your EPK. Once you get all the content in place, which is really the tricky part, choosing your best content, you'll want to display it nicely on the page. You want to make sure that it's eye-catching, that it's easy to read. And there's a few ways to do this, depending on how much content you have. You can use sections, heading titles to break up the different assets. And you can also put assets into rows or columns. So the videos could be together, for example, with a different section background. And then the music could also be in its own section. It just keeps things consistent and easy to read. Another tip is to make sure that there's some breathing room around your content. White space is sort of a popular design device currently, and it really makes things easy to read if there's not text jammed all up against each other. So you can add some space between text. You can put text in 2 columns with space in the middle and that kind of thing. You just want to make sure it's easy to take in all at once. To make your design stand out, imagery is really your best bet. It also displays a sense of who you are and what your music sounds like. You can use different background colors or imagery in your background, or break up your sections and use images that way. Just make sure that you use coordinated colors and fonts. So if you're using a lot of color, maybe you want to make sure that your font is one color. Black or white is typical to make sure it's easy to read. And just remember that your EPK is part of your overall branding. So it should be coordinated with your website and your social media profiles, either by using similar imagery, similar colors. It should reflect any new music you're releasing, especially if you're creating an EPK to promote new music or try to get press for an album. Otherwise, if you're creating a general EPK, it should reflect your current look, what you're doing right now, and it should really give a sense of who you are currently as an artist. Here's a nice design example from a British duo, I believe, and they've got a lot of content on the page, but they use different colors that make it all stand out nicely. I like their section titles. The font is easy to read, and they use yellow consistently, which is a standout color, but also it goes with the black and white really nicely. We have another resource that we updated recently with some electronic press kit best designs. There's, I want to say 6, maybe 7 super good website designs where the EPK has been incorporated into the website and matches everything. All of the assets they've added are on brand and it looks really great. So if you are redoing your EPK or if you've created yours and you want to sort of see how it stacks up or gain some inspiration from another artist, feel free to check this out as well. I'm not sure how to turn the chat on, so I'm going to address these frequently asked questions that we've heard from artists sort of over the last while. And if there are more questions, we'll chat about those at the end. So first of all, we get asked, where should you have your EPK? And you should have it on your official website. Your website is the place where people go to find out about you, to learn the bigger picture. And if your EPK is on your website, it's a surefire way to make sure that they find what they're looking for. It could be a music supervisor, talent buyer, blogger. If they Google you, your website comes up and your EPK is there. It's few clicks for them. It makes it really easy to find all of the information they might need. Plus, your website is really your online home. You own that address. People can always find you there. So along with that, they'll always be able to find your most updated version of your EPK on your website. You own the experience on your own website. There's no distractions. There's no, funny videos that people might want to check out, and there's no design limits. So your EPK can be a cohesive part of your overall branding, which extends to your website as well. Plus, you earn more money by selling direct on your website. Commission-free sales is huge for artists. And you also own the data. So if you're starting to book shows again or pitch your music, you can see where your fans are coming from. You can see if you share a link on Facebook, if people are visiting your site as a result of that, you can see where they live, generally, the city where most people are listening to your music. So that might help inform some decisions if you're thinking about touring. We get asked this question regularly. Should you hide your EPK or should you place it in the menu? You can do either. A lot of people do like to have a page all on its own and remove the menu from the page, maybe even remove the header image from their website. So it's just a sheet. But I tend to think that if your EPK is an item in your menu, it's really easy to find. Again, if someone Googles you or you send the link to your website or you post it somewhere, they just click it, they can see EPK right away. It makes it more discoverable to people who aren't visiting your website necessarily as a direct contact. So people can check it out more easily. So if you decide to do that, you would put your EPK as part of your main menu, probably near the contact button, or a submenu of your about page, possibly. Should you password protect your EPK? Personal preference, again, if you post your entire album for download, you might want to password protect it. However, if it's already on streaming services, people can listen to it that way. So it's less of an issue now than it used to be. Making your EPK quickly accessible is a good idea. If, let's say, you send it out to a venue owner and they click the link to go to your website, they click on your EPK, now they have to put in a password. Are they going to go back to their email and check for the password? Not sure. They might. They very well might, but they might not. And if there's no password, they can see the information much more quickly. Should you create a downloadable version of your press kit? This is a functionality that we built in recently to Bandzoogle. You can create a PDF with all the EPK assets that you have on your digital page. It can't hurt to include a downloadable version on the page. So you can create the file, add it as a link or an image linking to the file right on your EPK, or you can create a downloadable EPK and attach it in an email and send that out along with the link to the digital version. It's really personal preference, again, if you would like to do that or not. Perhaps you know that some booking agents like to see a PDF. If you're not sure, you can always include it on the page and then they can decide if they want to download it from there. When you're sending an EPK out to bookers and media, should you attach files? A PDF, possibly. And the reason for that is that it's a small file. If they specifically ask for music or photos, you could attempt to send those, but you won't get too far with email limits, especially if you're adding high resolution photos or a really good copy of a song. It might not reach their inbox. It might bounce depending on the file size. So sending a direct link to your EPK is usually a good bet, and then they can download files from there. How often should you update your EPK? This is a tricky one to do because we're all pressed for time, but you should really, if there's anything on your website that you update regularly, it should be your EPK. Anytime you get a new review, new photos, a new song or video, even if you just have a general EPK, it should be like a living, breathing version of your career. So keep it up to date. You don't always have to toss the old information, but you want to make sure that you include the new information, definitely. And your bio, especially on your press kit. You should update that regularly, keeping in mind, again, that someone might copy and paste it. So if it has a lead sentence talking about what you did in 2018, it's a little bit out of date, and that will reflect your career. Oh, yeah. So here's another resource we have, how to create an EPK using a template. And it walks through the 4 different templates. We've created different preset pages. Let's say that if you create a website with Bandzoogle and you want to do an EPK, you can just choose one of those types, an EPK for venues, an EPK for media, and the page will be populated with empty features. You click on it, add your bio, add your photos. It's just sort of an easy way to get an EPK up and running quickly. And you can check out these resources if you'd like, just to learn a little bit more about that. So again, if you need a website, we've got this promo code for you, FMO, a 3-month trial and 15% off the first year. Hopefully that helps if you'd like to try it out. And yeah, that's about it for EPKs. So if you do want to interact with us, check us out, bandzoogle.com. The live chat is always there. If you'd like to chat with a support team member, a musician, talk about EPKs, or locate some of those resources, they'd be more than happy to help. And yeah, that's about it. So are there any questions or like discussion we want to get to?
Hi there, Melanie. This is Joel. Great presentation.
Hello.
We do have some chat questions here from Find Your Voice. Someone's confused about Bandzoogle itself. It's a site or it is a site platform with templates for EPKs within, correct?
Yes. Okay. I just stopped sharing my screen so I can see the chat now. Sorry about that, guys. Oh, and I love Big Little Lions too. I remember meeting you guys. You guys are awesome. So yes, Bandzoogle is a website platform. You can build your full website. And along with that, you can build an EPK. So if you only want to build an EPK with Bandzoogle, you can certainly do that. We include EPK specific templates and we include preset pages. So if you start to build a website, you want to build your EPK, you would go to the page options and choose, let's say, EPK for media. That would populate an EPK page, which you would then add your information to. And we design those. I think the same person was maybe asking that question. Our designers have created different templates. So basically, you add your information and it will match the rest of your website nicely. We have different preset kind of colors and fonts depending on the template you choose. And it's all built in, no coding. The goal is just to get it up and running quickly, easily, and mobile friendly.
Thank you. We've got another question here from Ken Whiteley asking about promoting albums to media specifically. Can the EPK feature be used for that?
Yes, definitely. So if that's your goal, I would try choosing the EPK for media. It just allows you to, and I should say to any of these EPK options, you can add whatever you want. You can add as many links or text blocks or design options as you'd like. These are just sort of different suggestions that we have for a musician to get an EPK up and running quickly. If you don't want to add photos, absolutely you don't have to. but we suggest you do. So we've included it in this preset page option. And with an album, we've suggested adding an album feature. Within an album feature, you can add your cover art, your songs. You can add lyrics as well if you want. And there's a little option for information as well. So definitely an EPK for media is a great way to really sort of focus that information into one place, and then specifically contact the media and say, here's all the information you need, listen to my album here, and that kind of thing.
A question here from Ken, which I've heard from other artists as well. What if you don't really engage with social media whatsoever?
It's a tricky one, but I would say it's even more reason to have a website. A lot of people sort of rely on social media to engage with their fans that way. But if you create a website, that's a great way to engage with fans who really care about the music. They listen to it on your website. They'll support you by perhaps buying your album through your website or crowdfunding your album. You don't have to include social media icons on your EPK page, if that's what you're wondering. And if you're not engaged on social media, I wouldn't even bother. I would just focus it on what you are doing. So album, your music, your bio, and that kind of thing. Usually a promoter, somebody probably would try to check you out on social media. But if they don't, then it's okay.
How do, and this is a question from someone else outside the chat, how do the EPKs integrate with other Bandzoogle things, such as being able to sell your own tickets for your own shows?
You can add whatever you like to the EPK feature. So if you wanted to sell tickets from your EPK, you could. You could place a link on your EPK to your shows page. All of the features work together. So for example, as well, if you were to add a calendar of shows and you wanted to reuse that on your EPK page, you can simply reuse it. If you want to add your same, album that you've already uploaded to your store, you can reuse that on your EPK page, just to make it easy to use the same assets. And yeah, you're welcome to build a full website, EPK there, sell tickets on your shows page, and that kind of thing.
Looks like Ken is here with another question about who is blogging. Aside from googling, do you have some maybe good examples of people using Bandzoogle's platform for blogs?
Gosh, well, we do have quite a few. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I've seen a lot of blogs that are used sort of as a news style, like more information than you would find on a social media post. But they create a news section, usually on the homepage or a dedicated sort of news blog page. Blogging is great for search engines or for talking about your music, for engaging fans on your website. Or if you're looking for music bloggers who might be interested in your music. I'm not sure about that. There are resources out there for sure, though, I think if you do some web searches. And also, if you listen to, the kind of music that you're interested in, you could see who's covering those artists and reach out to them, either the bloggers or even the artists themselves, possibly to see how they got in touch with that kind of person. I'm not sure what kind of music you make, but there's probably lots of folk music bloggers out there. Social media might be a place, but I would say sort of look at other artists and see what they're doing, who's covering them. Sort of two questions. Hopefully that covered either or both.
As a music making web development thing, how you also have some training, helpful videos on your site as well for further information?
We do, and we have a fairly up-to-date EPK video as well. If you're a really visual person and you want to check out how to make an EPK by watching a YouTube video with Bandzoogle, you can check that out on our YouTube channel as well. or if you don't really do, social media, just contact our live chat, bandzoogle.com, live support. They can link you any videos or resources that you might like. We also have a really comprehensive help section on our website. And we have an article on creating an EPK, which is a little more technical, but walks you through the steps, add feature, click upload, choose your photo, and that kind of thing. So if you would rather read how to do it in that style versus watching a video, you can do that as well. Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to read that. Look at that.
I can see it.
The best time I say to start an EPK, well, is yesterday, but the second best time is now. Any final thoughts from you, Melanie, before we wrap this up?
I don't think so. I just, I hope you guys found it helpful. I hope you don't find the idea of creating an EPK overwhelming. I know some people, musicians, might feel that way when they're getting started. But the biggest hurdle is just rounding up all of your stuff, all of your photos, making sure your music is in the proper format, and that kind of thing. But once you get your stuff in place, it's really easy to create and have it look really good from there. So hopefully this workshop has inspired you to get started on it, because EPKs can really be helpful, just promoting any project. And it's really nice to create something like that you're proud of. And then you see it on an EPK on your website. You see it all in one place. It's kind of fulfilling. So hopefully you guys, take away a little bit of information that will help you get started or redesign your EPK possibly for a new project.
Thank you so much, Melanie. And thank you everyone for joining us.